always been fairly well when I was a child. I never had any hospital admissions as a child, but my parents were told at that stage that children with cystic fibrosis didn't live past 12 years old. And when I sort of got to 12 years old, they were like, well, they don't really live past adolescence. And here I am at 51, which I think there's been huge changes in the treatment and management. I had a mother who, when I was born, the management of cystic fibrosis was all about, they're frail and they're sick, and you feed them low-fat foods and don't let them do very much exercise. And my mum didn't think that fitted very well, and so she did what she felt was the right thing, which I'm grateful for now. And certainly it's a bit surreal to turn 40 and then turn 50 and still here, still going. So I'm the oldest of 7 children, and I was diagnosed at the age of 4 with cystic fibrosis. And I have 2 younger brothers who also have cystic fibrosis who were diagnosed when they were born. I'm originally from Brisbane. I got married almost 25 years ago to a boy from Melbourne. We got set up on a blind date and moved down here, and I've settled myself here in Melbourne since then. I'm a paediatric physiotherapist, and I've worked at the Royal Children's Hospital in Melbourne for almost 25 years. And before that, I worked at the Children's Hospital in Brisbane. Travelled a lot, worked in the USA, in Nashville, in Tennessee, worked in Exeter, in the UK. Done a lot of travelling before I met my husband and after. I finished high school and did a lot of year 12 in hospital, but then was accepted into undergraduate course of physiotherapy at the University of Queensland, and did 4 years training there, and then graduated in 1991. I was always told that I wouldn't be able to be a physiotherapist because I had cystic fibrosis, but I didn't see how that was possible. It's been a long journey. I think I really didn't have to do as much to look after my health when I was younger. I could get away with lots of exercise and things like that. But I've certainly found as I've got older, I've had to progressively do more and more daily treatment, twice a day, to maintain the health where I am. I worked 5 days a week for almost 20 years, and I got really sick about 5 years ago and was told I was going to pass away in hospital. There was a brilliant physician who's Professor John Wilson, who looked after me for 25 years, and he did something off the like not in the normal that managed to somehow kickstart everything, and gradually was able to come back to sort of my original health, which he still refers to as, this is the miracle patient that, let me tell you all about her. And so since then I cut my hours down to sort of 3 days a week, and I think I was just doing too much in that sense. I've got renal disease associated with cystic fibrosis. I've got about 50% capacity with my kidney function, and I've obviously got the liver issues as well, and I developed diabetes about 15 years ago, and so that's a type 2 cystic fibrosis related diabetes. Well, for me it's been much more time consuming to maintain my health compared to when I was younger, because I could sort of get away with lots of exercise. Now it's got to be twice a day, chest clearance and then inhaled antibiotics and all the stuff that comes with that, and medications. The medications have just gone up and up and up as I've got older. The cost of that can be quite significant. I'm lucky to have a profession that allows me to be able to afford all that, and to have a healthcare card. I don't know what we would do otherwise. But I think also my body feels a lot older than I am, and I get tireder and I can't do as much as I used to do. I look back and think, oh wow, we used to go to the gym twice a day and run, and I'd swim every day, and I'd walk to work and walk home and all these things, and it's like, it was all about exercise being intense exercise to be able to sweat and things like that. And now I'm like, no, we'll just slow right down to low impact exercise and ballet, and just lower key, more injuries. and joint problems as I've got older if I do too much of that now. I miss it. I miss being able to do more, but also realise that there's a balance. And certainly cutting back to 3 days a week of work was something I probably wished I'd done a long time ago, because that was really helped me mentally and physically. It's more the fact that frustrated that my body doesn't do what I used to do. I felt like I used to have lots of energy and be able to do tons of stuff, but sort of as your lung function drops as you get older, and it's more difficult to maintain it up there. And I seem to have had injuries after injuries with things that have stopped me being able to go to the gym and stopped me being able to do all the things that I used to do. I find that challenging, to be quite honest, and trying to accept a new normal. I don't like change very much, so it's hard to sort of get my head around that sometimes, that you are 51, you've been told that your body is probably older than your 51 years because of all that you've experienced in your health. Yeah, getting my head around that is sort of frustrating. It doesn't depress me, it's just more like, can't do that. And to accept the fact that you can't do that, when beforehand it was like, no, I can do everything. I'm invincible kind of thing. And now it's like, no, you have got to listen to your body and respect the fact that you are getting older, and be kind to your body, and don't try and do too much. But I am guilty of that. And that sometimes sets off anxieties if I'm trying to do too much and then not coping. That's sort of a bad habit I've got. I never was part of the CF community. My parents really didn't like the attitudes that they saw, just that they saw a lot of children who were quite indulged and not encouraged to do very much, and not active, and CF was the excuse for all these things. And so they really did take us back from any sort of involvement with that. But certainly as I've got older and sort of discovered the services that are available with Cystic Fibrosis Victoria, who've been a huge support, and others. I guess I've sort of been able to see other people's stories and met other people with cystic fibrosis and sort of heard their stories and sort of thought, wow, like there's a lot of people who are doing great things out there, and it's a real positive spin to see that we are getting into the ages that medical professionals never thought we were going to get into. And of course that brings its own issues with it. So when I was younger, I wish I had someone to talk about women's health issues and how they related to cystic fibrosis. That was something that really wasn't even talked about in doctor's appointments, and I had a male doctor. I don't think many girls feel comfortable with bringing up those topics, and it wasn't until much later in life that I sort of realised that these things were quite normal as part of cystic fibrosis, and there are things that can be done to help. Stress incontinence and thrush and all these things that I know about now, I didn't really understand what was happening, and it wasn't until I moved to Melbourne and met Brenda Button, who's the physiotherapist at the Alfred, that these things started to come up. And I was able to get, help and support with that. But it's certainly not something you feel comfortable bringing up with male doctors terribly much. Well, I didn't. But it's probably I wish I'd asked a lot younger about those kinds of things. As you get older with cystic fibrosis, all these things that were never needed to be mentioned because you never made this sort of age. I think the specialists are sort of scrambling to find this new what's normal for a person with cystic fibrosis at the age of 50, and what should we be expecting. And so I think it's a little bit of an exploratory journey for them as well, as we grow old, as I grow older and as others grow older, as to, okay, how do we manage this or that, and what about this, and you need more investigations for these things. I feel like I'm in about have lots of tests that are done as I get older. It's just part of learning your new self as you get older. You've got to learn to like that, and just come to terms with the fact that there may be more restrictions and more medications, and just do what you can do. But it's not worth getting down about it. It's, I guess I'm not that kind of person, but it's certainly, I feel like I've got a little bit more anxious as I've got older about what might happen, or things like that, but try not to dwell on it. No, I don't want it to define me, no, and it's just part of my life. It's part of my life, and it sometimes impacts on my life more in some occasions and less in others. But it's just something that you get on with and you do it. There's so many more people that have far more worse problems than I do, and it's not worth dwelling on and getting down because you can't do all these things. I think most people can do, with cystic fibrosis, can do anything that they want to, but obviously it is dependent on where they are health-wise. I think I'm glad that I did a lot of things younger. I'd like to continue working and work in the capacity sort of part-time. I enjoy my work with physiotherapy, and I think I get a lot of joy in supporting families and just changing their lives, because the things I do influence their lives in the future as well, and it's really rewarding. I think forgetting self and being able to help others is one of the greatest things that you can do. As I've got older, I've realised that investing time in relationships and spending time with family is really, really important. I'd like to keep volunteering. I'd like to keep fostering cats if my husband will let me. I enjoy travelling. I'd like to travel again. I think a bit cautious with COVID still at the moment, and sort of it's a new normal as to what's going to happen. But I just want to keep enjoying my life the best I can, and helping others to have good lives as well. That's what I'd really like to do. There's been a lot of miracles and blessings in my life with my health, and I've had great support from family and friends, always encouraging all the way through. And my parents have never let us use cystic fibrosis as an excuse for not doing anything. It was part of our life, and we were expected to do our very best regardless, and I'm really grateful for that. It doesn't define me. It's just part of my life, and you deal with it and do the best that you can, and I'm always happy that that's the way I've been brought up, because I really feel like I've done a lot with my life, and I'm really happy that that's how it's sort of gone. We have dreams and aspirations and expectations, and we want to achieve, and we want to be able to do things that our peers do, and we don't like being told that we have restrictions or limitations put on us because the fact we have cystic fibrosis. I think we don't want people to feel sorry for us. We want people to encourage us and to uplift us and to help us achieve the things that we want to achieve in life and do great things, because we can do great things. And our cystic fibrosis doesn't define us. It's part of our lives, but we do need help, medical help, and supportive family and supportive friends who are with us there all of the way.